shootout over the weekend.
A gorgeous start to our work week. However, when we turn our transition to the middle of the week, we show up on the severe thunderstorm risk map. We'll have the latest from the Skywatch Weather Center.
And the latest fallout after Will Smith slaps Chris Rock after an Oscars joke about his wife.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Authorities investigate an hours-long standoff in Cherokee County that ended with 3 dead. This is KOAM News at Noon. I'm Tanya Bach. Topping our first 7 minutes, a vigil is scheduled tonight for 2 of the victims. The standoff started Saturday night shortly after 7 when Baxter Springs police responded to a domestic disturbance on the 300 block of Wyandotte Avenue. Officers at the scene say when 27-year-old Taylor Shute walked out of the home, a man also came out, shot and killed her. That man, 37-year-old Eli Crawford, retreated into the home with their 2-year-old daughter. Deputies say Crawford began shooting at the first responders. The KBI, Kansas Highway Patrol, and the Joplin SWAT team responded to assist. Officials say Crawford's assault lasted nearly 3.5 hours before an officer was able to safely return fire. When officers entered the home, both Eli and the child were found dead inside. KBI is now leading the investigation. The officer who returned fire has been placed on paid administrative leave per department protocol. And a candlelight vigil will be held for Taylor and her daughter, Cleslin Jane, at Joplin's Mercy Park. That's tonight at 7 p.m. On Sunday, Missourians lined the highway into Carthage, Missouri to pay their final respects to Officer Lane Burns. A Bonne Terre police officer died in the line of duty on March 17th. That morning, 2 patrolmen were ambushed, sparking an exchange of gunfire at a Motel 6 about an hour south of St. Louis in Bonne Terre. Officer Lane Burns was killed. Officer Burns is a Carthage native and graduated from Carthage High School in 2009. City of Joplin invites the public to provide feedback on the city's solid waste master plan. The city says it's in the initial stages of developing the plan and wants residents' input to ensure success. The discussions will include trash, recycling, and yard waste services throughout Joplin. The informational open house is scheduled for Wednesday, April the 6th on the 5th floor of City Hall in the council chambers. There are 2 times available, from 2 to 4 or 5 to 7 p.m. Well, it's tough to complain on a Monday when the weather is just so nice out there.
About time we got a little sunshine, huh?
Yeah, a great way to start off the work week.
Well, and here's the great thing, Tanya. Average temperature for the end of March would be around 64 degrees. We're going to cruise past that for really the next 2 days. Now, eventually, a little thunderstorm activity headed our way, but at the same point in time, here we are at the noon hour, 59 in Joplin, 60 in Neodesha, 57 in Carthage, and 61 in Miami. And remember, we've still got a couple more hours before we hit that peak heating time, so we'll be up in the high 60s by the time we get to about 2:30 to 4 o'clock. Skywatch Storm Tracker, clean as can be. We had some morning cloud cover that's now pushed off to the northeast. Just a little rain falling there just to the south side of I-70. The wind is going to play a factor, not only for today, but also to tomorrow. We've seen this switch down to the northeast right now, double digits. Look at this. 19 miles per hour in Chanute, 16 in Independence and Nevada, so we're going to gust up to 25. What that will do, combo that with our humidity, elevated fire risk for the rest of our Monday. Now, don't let that dissuade you from getting some fresh air. It's going to be absolutely delightful, not only for today, but for really most of tomorrow as well. As we put Future Track into motion, here we go. Oh, you'll notice a little green pop up. That instability, combination of that Gulf moisture with the warmer temperatures, and eventually, tomorrow night, we've got thunderstorm activity that's going to roll through. As it does, bouts of heavy rain, thunder, and lightning as well. Now, our afternoon temperatures, not too bad, all the way up into the 70s. But Tanya, here's the factor. As we get from Tuesday night into Wednesday morning, we need to be prepared for, number 1, localized flooding, number 2, high winds, and number 3, possibility of even some hail. So we're going to break down our severe thunderstorm risk map, show exactly where those chances are, and also your distinct timeline for when to be ready for it when I see you in a bit.
Okay, a lot to talk about. Thanks, Michael. Ukraine and Russia say another round of peace talks could begin tomorrow, but Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky says Ukraine's sovereignty and territorial integrity are non-negotiable. This comes as Russia's ground offensive has stalled, but their missile and rocket barrage is taking a toll on Ukrainian cities. President Biden is now insisting that his comments that Russian President Vladimir Putin should not remain in charge was not a call for regime change in Russia. Well, the Final Four is set. The Peacocks lost to North Carolina yesterday, paving the way for a Tar Heel Blue Devil matchup. On the other side of the bracket, Kansas is the only one seed in the Final Four after beating Miami. The Jayhawks play Villanova for a shot at the national championship. Dana Jacobson breaks down the weekend's big games.
Comes to an end.
With that, the clock struck midnight for the St. Peter's Peacocks.
One final huddle.
The New Jersey team made history, becoming the first 15 seed to reach the elusive Elite Eight before falling to the heavily favored North Carolina Tar Heels. The moment brought UNC coach Hubert Davis to tears.
I just desperately wanted this for them, and I love these guys so much. They trusted me in my first year. They allowed me to coach them.
North Carolina will face off against their arch-rival Duke in the national semifinal for Coach K's final run. In 42 years leading the Blue Devils, he's made a record 13 Final Fours. Now he aims for his 6th national title.
It's the greatest day for college basketball, and we're honored to be a part of it.
Also heading to the Big Easy, the Villanova Wildcats, hoping to do something no school has accomplished in nearly 50 years. If they cut down the nets next week, it will be Villanova's 3rd championship in the last 6 tournaments.
It feels great to be going back to the Final Four. It never gets old. It is a dream of every player and coach in college basketball.
The banged-up Wildcats will have their hands full with the top-seeded Kansas Jayhawks, aiming for their first title since 2008.
You know, we're not done yet, and I'm not satisfied yet with this, and I know my teammates aren't either.
Dana Jacobson, CBS News.
KU Villanova game tips off just after 5 p.m. this Saturday. That's a look at today's top stories and weather in our first 7 minutes. Up next on KOAM News at noon, Will Smith takes home the top prize at the Oscars and turns his acceptance speech into an apology after slapping Chris Rock. And later, we're making what chicken in the Mr. Food Test Kitchen. Will Smith upstaged himself last night while he ultimately took home the Best Actor trophy. The moment everyone's talking about is the slap heard round the world. CBS's Danya Bacchus reports from Los Angeles.
A shocking moment in Oscar history when actor Will Smith took matters into his own hands.
Oh, wow. Wow. Will Smith just smacked out of me. Wow, dude.
Yes.
It was a G.I. Jane jump.
Keep my wife's name out your mouth.
Comedian Chris Rock made a joke about Smith's wife, Jada Pinkett Smith, mocking her shaved head. Pinkett Smith suffers from alopecia, a disease resulting in hair loss, and decided to shave her head. She was not amused with Rock's jab, and then neither was her husband.
Oh, wow!
The room was noticeably altered, and there was plenty of reaction. Director Judd Apatow called it pure, out-of-control rage and violence in a since-deleted tweet. While actress Tiffany Haddish told People magazine Smith stood up for his wife, adding, "It's the most beautiful thing I've ever seen."
And the Oscar goes to
Will Smith!
Less than an hour later, Smith reached the pinnacle of his acting career, winning his first Oscar for the film King Richard. Smith gave an emotional speech in which he seemed to defend his actions.
Love will make you do crazy things.
Smith apologized to the Academy and his fellow nominees, but not to Rock.
Thank you. Hope the Academy invites me back.
Some are now saying Smith should not be allowed to keep his Oscar. Danya Bacchus, CBS News, Los Angeles.
The Los Angeles Police Department said it's aware of the incident, but that Rock declined to file a police report. Still to come on the KOAM News at noon, Mr. Food.
Today's recipe is so good and disappears from the table so fast, it'll leave you wondering where it went.
But first, Michael Hayslip returns with your complete forecast.
Look at our March temperature so far, about 59.1 degrees as we wrap up the beginning or the end of the month. And you'll notice right there on par. Now here's the thing, we don't have many days to go, so that's not going to jump a whole bit, but we are going to eclipse that easily for the next 3 days. 59, speaking of angels, and hear the flutter of their wings. Over 7th and Rangeline is where we stand right now. Look at that wind gusting up to 24 miles per hour with a very low dew point. And so what that will mean for the rest of our afternoon, elevated fire weather. So just be very safe out there. I'd just refrain from burning anything. That'd be on the safe side. As we range anywhere from 64, as we see down in northeast Oklahoma, some 60s out in southeast Kansas, and a whole lot of 50s, minus Anderson, who's able to make it up to the 60-degree mark. But Nevada and Fort Scott still chiming in at 54 and 53. Slowly but surely, our wind has shifted in, and as it comes in from the southeast, also an increase, almost 20 miles an hour as it pushes through the Midwest. Now, the fire weather watch has moved to the west of Wichita. We're starting to see a little bit of a wind warning moved right along the state line there toward our portions of northeast Oklahoma. But for the most part, our counties remain on the clear side. We'll point out that on the East Coast, they got a little bit of a mess on their hands right there, and that's indicative when we put on the Skywatch Storm Tracker and the Jetstream. What it's doing, grabbing that cold air, and they've also got the combo of Gulf moisture. How about some late March snow for the northeastern portion of the United States, lasting all the way up through Maine? But if you get on the bottom side of the ridge right here, that means warmer temperatures, not only for us, but for the upper plains, all the way really on the other side of the Rockies. Very, very quiet, very mundane. That's going to change here in the next 36 hours. Our weather trend for today, even with some increased clouds overnight, traps in our heat from today. We'll go low 70s for our afternoon highs and looking very delightful. Now, as we get into tomorrow, that wind does not want to back off. You'll notice as we get into that yellow range right there, that's that 20 to 25 mile per hour range. And you'll notice the southward shift. And what that's going to do with the Gulf moisture that we're accumulating right now, going to cause instability right down here throughout Oklahoma. And we're going to see it here on Future Track. So as we get to Tuesday, you'll see scattered rain, not too much. But then as we approach sunset, watch what happens down here. That's the heavy rain that begins to move in. That's going to be a combination of, number one, thunder and lightning, but also, two, that's going to also increase our flooding concerns, more so as we push on the eastern side of southwest Missouri. High winds, that's going to fluctuate between northeast Oklahoma and southeast Kansas, and also, too, there's a slight chance, I want to reiterate that, slight chance of some hail. Of course, that would include a severe thunderstorm warning that we would, of course, break in on. But look at our timeline here. This is going to last pretty much all through Wednesday, and that's why our flooding concerns continue to increase. When we look at the severe thunderstorm risk map, the entire 4 states in that low category, and so this is not something that we're kidding around about. We're going to be tracking this all from Tuesday night into Wednesday morning, and there it gives you a national perspective of that Gulf moisture just pulling up right through Texas and Oklahoma and headed toward us. Now, Tanya, got to remember, we're just 2 weeks removed from coming off severe weather preparedness month. So, for those of you that may need to do those last minute things, this is the time to do them, because Monday, today, most of Tuesday, going to be absolutely fine. Let's get in the mood, get in the mode, and get ready for the end of March, beginning of April, because these thunderstorms, as you can tell, they're going to be quite persistent here as we move through the spring.
Let them come. Sure messes up a lot of evening sports practices that are outdoors when it does, though.
We do. And also, too, I think our timeline, number one, is very important as far as when they're going to hit, and that's going to be after sunset. But number two, because things have been relatively calm, for the past couple of weeks, we've been lucky. Yeah, we know how the 4 states are. Let's stay on our toes right now.
All right, thanks, Michael. We take this time to honor today's 4-state hero, Airman 3rd Class Chester Cox in the U.S. Army. The Pitcher, Oklahoma native, joined the 3576th Field Maintenance Squadron in 1952. He served in Korea, earning the United Nations Service Medal and the Korean Service Medal with 1 Bronze Star. To Airman Chester Cox, we thank you, our 4-state hero. Want a simple chicken recipe that tastes like you spent all day in the kitchen? Howard shows us how to make what? Chicken? In the Mr. Food Test Kitchen.
When it comes to getting dinner on the table, the last thing we need is some complicated recipe with a long list of ingredients. So with that in mind, I know you're going to love today's recipe that has only 5 ingredients, and it goes together in minutes. All we do is combine some Dijon mustard, a splash of vegetable oil, a little lemon juice, and some chopped dill. Once that's mixed, we add in some boneless, skinless chicken breast and let them sit for a bit so they can soak up all that flavor. Then right before we call the troops to the table, we discard the extra marinade and sear these in a grill pan or in a skillet until each side is golden and they're cooked through. We could even marinate these up to a day if we want. Either way, after cooking these for just minutes, you have a fancy-dancy tasting dinner that's healthier, cheaper, and easier than picking up takeout. So here's what I suggest. Go online and get the recipe for our What Chicken. The reason we call it that is there is bound to be one person at the table who will gobble it up quickly and ask for more. And when you ask them, what happened to your chicken? They're gonna say, what chicken? I'm Howard in the Mr. Food Test Kitchen, where today we found a very simple way for you to say, ooh, it's so good.
You can find this recipe along with a lot more good food from the Mr. Food Test Kitchen online. Just go to our website at koamnewsnow.com. Here's a look at our 4-state market prices.
Breeze through this afternoon and this evening into the upper 60s, lower 70s. Remember, tomorrow starts out just fine. It is tomorrow night as we approach sunrise. Thunderstorm activity going to carry us all the way through Wednesday, not only morning, but into the afternoon hours. Thunder, lightning, heavy rain, high wind. Also the possibility Tuesday night into Wednesday morning, a slight chance of hail.
All right, something to keep an eye on. What do we have coming up tonight at 5?
Well, at 5, new research shows people who suffer with COVID-19 and flu at the same time are at a much greater risk of severe disease, even death. We're going to look at the numbers and why scientists say more hospitals should be testing COVID patients for the flu in Health Watch. Plus, in a world that's constantly on the go, the cost that goes along with transportation is raising concerns. Hear from a local Joplin trucking company, CFI, on how the gas prices are affecting their industry. And a Joplin man is sentenced for his role in a crash that caused serious injury to the passenger. Hope you'll join us. KOAM News at 5.
All right, thank you, Dow. Thanks for joining us for KOAM News at noon. We'll see you right back here at 5 o'clock.